All right, welcome back to round number 3 of 4 here on Modern Mondays at Guardian Games in Portland, Oregon. We're Portland Paper, streaming analog modern Magic the Gathering and some other formats occasionally. I'm Travis Cooper, hanging out with,
Ian Lunger.
and we're going to watch some humans versus hardened skills. We got Ethan Brown hanging out on the left here on Hardened Scales Affinity, and Jacob Goody on humans.
Yeah, a couple of our regular grinders. We missed Jacob had been gone for a bit, but it looks like he's back
Yeah,
playing humans.
Ethan was also absent for a while. Ethan got a couple, I think got one second place finish at a GP on just traditional Affinity and done pretty well on some limited events as well. And Jacob has been playing humans for quite a while.
Yeah, Ethan very young, but a brilliant Magic player.
Yeah, it's cool to see some younger folks then grow up and see them for 4, 5, 6 years hanging out.
He's definitely kind of the our next generation of very good Portland Magic players.
And we get a canopy into a hierarch for Jacob, which is about the best start you can have. Land into 1 drop. And we find a Ravager off an Ancient Stirrings for Ethan.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if we ever got an art like a Frank Carson article that tracked human starts with Noble Hierarch versus Aether Vial. Kind of find out what is the best start.
And we have a Meddling Mage naming Arcbound Ravager, the one known card in Ethan's hand. Seems like an alright call. And we just get an Inkmoth into Mox Opal, so it looks like that was a pretty good call by Jacob. Maybe Ethan stranded with a couple Ravagers in hand.
Yeah, makes that play seem very good by Jacob.
And
super solid curve out here for Jacob. This is kind of the exact sequence of cards you love to see from humans. You get a little bit of disruption in there, and then you just put that clock down. Huh. Ethan trades his Ink Moth for a damage on the Meddling Mage, maybe wanting to put it in Walking Ballista range, feeling like he's not going to get this match otherwise. What's your read on that?
Ethan may have been wanting to also perhaps proliferate that -1/-1 counter, or giving himself an out to do that.
Does Throne of Geth is one of the few cards that proliferates in this Hardened Scales deck?
There is also...
Wow.
That's... The name is escaping from me right now. Animation Module can also, right? Is that... We might want to pull that one up.
Let's take a look at
It's been a
Animation
minute
Module.
I've seen Hardened Scales in action. I know Animation Module has a secondary ability that I always forget about, and I'm like, oh, well, that got me.
I want to say it functions similar, but I don't think it has the word proliferate. But let's take a look. There's Animation Module.
Yeah, choose a counter on a target permanent or
okay.
player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So that was maybe another out to getting rid of that Meddling Mage.
Certainly. That's fair. Yeah, I guess I remembered that it didn't say the word proliferate. It just kind of spells it out, huh?
Oh, it looks like there was a question about pricing in chat. And yeah, it's like $5 or 2 packs to enter the event, and all the event entry ends up going back towards prizes so you can get in booster packs or store credit. Yeah, so all the prizes do go to store credit. There's it pays out on your match record, not standings. And basically how the math on that works is if you have more than like 12 people, you get within 1 or 2 packs over the whole event being over or under on pricing out. So it's effectively all the prizes go to store credit, and sometimes the store loses a couple packs, and sometimes they end up not giving out everything, but it evens out over the course of multiple events.
Chat, where's everybody from? I always wonder of the people that are watching our stream, like who's actually from Portland? Who do we have that's native Portlanders, and who do we have that's watching from elsewhere?
It's pretty fast sideboarding for everyone.
Humans did get a sideboard upgrade in this matchup in a Collector Oof,
Oof.
which is essentially a null rod on a creature.
Is it creature type oof as well? Because I would.
Let's
I
take a
mean, it
look
has
at
to
it.
be. But sometimes there's non-intuitive creature types in Magic.
It's true. Although I think they've been a little better recently about making them match up.
Oh yeah, we're an oof. Oof tribal. When's that gonna be a thing?
Never.
I mean, you got kitchen finks, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You got some good sideboard options.
Yeah. Yeah. Two good sideboard options for your Oof Tribal, and then a bunch of changelings.
Okay, get another turn one stirrings, but we're on the play this time for Ethan. And finding the ballista off stirrings. I assume not casting it on 0.
Oh, nice. We have a couple Salt Lake cities, Tennessee and New Jersey. Wow. Chats from everywhere. All right. Ethan gets that Ravager out there before Jacob can do anything about it. It's a solid start for Ethan, getting out an early Walking Ballista with a couple counters on a Ravager. It's far more difficult for this Hardened Scales deck to get out of control without Hardened Scales. There is a world where I could see this Walking Ballista just getting so big that all of Jacob's creatures get gunned down, but currently without a Hardened Scales, it's a lot more difficult.
Responding to Walking Ballista X equals 2.
X is 2.
I imagine we're going to see Ethan either, if Jacob's somehow able to violent a creature, we'll see him trade his Ballista on 1 for the champion, or we'll see him take a counter off this Ballista for 2 to take the champion out.
And I think there's a Dismember hanging out in Jacob's hand as well.
Ethan offers the trade with his Ballista. Jacob takes it. Ethan is sitting on, I believe he's only got, what does he have, 1 card left in hand?
Looks like we're going all in on this Ballista plan.
I do love watching Ethan play this deck. I think, you see players that are oftentimes kind of afraid to just go all in on things, especially in a deck like Hardened Scales Affinity that in some ways can actually play the grindy role, but Ethan seems to have a good beat on whether his hand is lending itself to playing grindy or whether he needs to just go all in early on.
Ouch. And it looks like Ethan machine guns down everything after that Deputy Detention's ETB trigger goes on the stack.
Animation Module is a start for allowing Ethan to build off of any future draws.
And I think we have a leftover of perhaps a Mantis Rider for Jacob.
Looks like it. Coming in for 4.
And flying is a hard stat for Hardened Scales to interact with unless you happen to have your Hangerback Walker. Otherwise, there's no flying really in Ethan's deck.
Right, and not only do you need a Hangerback Walker, you need a Hangerback Walker and a sack outlet. This Scales deck is one of those decks that looks insane when you have the right pieces and can look very mopey when you aren't able to put it together.
I feel like it is a little bit more dependent on a card like Hardened Scales for explosive turns than a deck like Humans is on a card like Aether Vial. Oh boy,
That's
that's
very
oof.
good here. So the oof probably ices the game here. Ethan would probably have to hit a dismember on this draw step to be able to get rid of that Mantis Rider, because he would have to take the Mantis Rider. This is a tough spot for Ethan. Are you seeing any outs for Ethan here?
I'm thinking.
Fair enough. Sometimes you gotta think and not talk, when you don't know.
I don't know. I can't imagine what one card Ethan could have that would pull him out of this. I mean, you can block with the Ink Moth,
You can.
and then you can, yeah, well.
So let's
Ooh.
take a look at this.
I think we're gonna get Dismember on the Oof, and then we're gonna have a chump block with the Ink Moth.
Let's take a look at.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is a way that Ethan can maybe get back into it.
So Jacob played an Unsettled Mariner, another new card from Modern Horizons. A fantastic card against what Hardened Scales is trying to do as far as interacting with Jacob's board, as it triggers the counter ability every time a speller ability
Oh boy.
targets a creature. So it makes the Walking Ballista plan very, very difficult to execute.
So we get a Ravager here, and we have a Hangerback Walker. And we're getting an attack with everything. It's getting a little bit despondent there for the Hardened Scales side, but they had really good lines and then a pretty great draw.
Yeah, Ethan showing that he knows the deck much better than me, dropping the Dismember on the Collector Oof, at least giving himself kind of a possibility to win the game, and then has ripped the cards that he's needed to bring himself back into this game. Ethan just very technically proficient with this deck. This game felt like a shoe-in for Jacob just a moment ago, and now it feels like it's almost beyond reach.
Especially there's no Reflector Mage or Dismember in hand, so Ethan can do Ravager shenanigans.
Yeah, if Jacob gets in with this Mantis Rider, he risks Ethan creating a bunch of Thopters and then loading some counters on them with the Ravager and just killing the Mantis Rider outright, and then possibly even killing Jacob on the crackback.
So everything's known information right now, so Ethan's going to be able to move around counters.
Nice. I love Ethan's Thopters. They're basic lands with printed Thopters on. I love it. I love it. You're the best, Ethan. Never change. So that's it. Ethan is able to just unload and kill Jacob there. That was an insane comeback.
Yeah, that definitely was. Ethan took figure out the line to not die and give himself the opportunity to potentially have a really good draw and win the game, and that is what happened. Also, Ethan's maybe been paying attention to the stream and came very prepared with plenty of correctly labeled tokens.
Yeah, love it. Love to see it. Just makes me so happy. Chat's from all over. Chat, I can't believe it. It's awesome. You should all come visit Portland. It's a great place. Travis and I love it, as do most of the other people here.
There's
All right, Travis.
occasional complainers, but
You know, there's always a couple people, but we get a game 3.
now we're up to 9 games of Magic.
We're keeping our streak alive of
Yeah.
just having some sweet feature matches.
I have a hard time believing that we're going to go to time on this one, though.
I don't think so. But, you know, if we're just kind of at that just right amount of time, we might be able to debut our new segment.
Oh, right. Yeah. Here we've got some sick new theme music for introducing a few different segments to the show to have some entertaining things. Way to spur some conversation chat, perhaps, and just keep ourselves involved instead of just putting on the music waiting for the next round. So.
Don't worry though, we'll still give you some music between rounds. This isn't getting rid of that. Just a little bit of extra.
All right, the old canopy and a vial opening.
You said game 1, that was the best start, and Jacob won, so...
Well, I think it was one of the best. I think we had canopy hierarch game 1, but...
Mm-hmm. Jacob's got the meddling mage again. Do we see the Ravager?
Yep, we're going to name Arcbound Ravager.
It worked game 1.
That is the card that really allows the Hardened Scales deck to go nuts and to just move around counters, get the infect kill. Oh, and we have a Metallic Mimic naming Construct. Card that some used to see play when the deck first came out, then sort of ebbed in popularity, but Ethan's got one.
So Jacob did rip a Deputy of Detention. Offers the trade here with the Mimic. Ethan does not take it, which makes sense. The Mimic represents quite a bit of value in this Scales deck. Jacob does have a Deputy of Detention in hand, but did not draw the land to play it. Certainly would have been a consideration last turn.
So it's an activation of the Aether Vial in response to the graft trigger is what is going on right now.
I see. Okay. Seems like a good choice. That Unsettled Mariner, again, is going to make it very, very difficult for Ethan to interact with Jacob or his creatures with this Ballista.
Ooh. Oof.
I get it. It's funny.
I feel like Hardened Scales has unfortunately gotten the bad end of other good decks that people sideboard for. I'm sure that these oofs are in Jacob's deck for
Urza.
Urza, and also when there's a lot of graveyard hate. Hardened Scales has a really big issue with graveyard hate with all the modular triggers when you're playing Leyline of the Voids in the main deck or Rest in Pieces, etc. And it's like a deck that, yes, it doesn't have a target on its back, but unfortunately it gets caught in the friendly fire of all the other degenerate decks.
Yeah, well, when you play an artifact deck, you have to. Sometimes you're just gonna get hit in the crossfire, and it's a risk you take.
Yeah, it's an artifact deck, but it's not really a graveyard deck, but it gets hosed by graveyard hate, and just a lot of things going on. Did you hear what we got named?
It was Dismember.
Yeah. Oh,
so
well, that's a lock.
Is insulating himself from Ethan's potential outs here. knowing that if Ethan is unable to get this oof off the board, it's unlikely that his deck will be able to generate enough value to win.
What can we find off of stirrings that's any good on this board? I guess that's the best thing you can do.
Doesn't feel great, but better than nothing. Oof, I believe, is the traditional null rod effect of, I believe it is, works with on both players. So I don't think that Jacob can activate his Ether Mile. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep. So really what Ethan needs to do right now is to get a Mycosynth Lattice in play.
Wouldn't that just draw the game?
It's better than losing.
Yeah, Oof is kind of a departure from Wizards' recent kind of design sensibilities with something like Plague Engineer, where they've started to make things just one-sided. I actually prefer this design space where the abilities like this are two-sided.
I guess Ethan could draw a Karn, perhaps, and start making some pretty big constructs.
Yes.
Would have helped a while ago.
Yep. Serves with the Walking Ballista here. Huh, Jacob willing to toss the Mariner. This feels like it's his least relevant creature. Once again, with Meddling Mages, he has Arcbound Ravager and Dismember locked down. Not that Ravager would be able to do a whole lot with the oof on the board.
That's a Plague Engineer.
Jacob just has all of the hate pieces.
Not sending in the oof. Maybe the Meddling Mages are hanging back?
Alright, we're going to serve with 3. Jacob kind of identifying the Meddling Mage that's naming Ravager is not a huge concern at this point. Unless Ethan can really start to kind of unlock this jigsaw puzzle that is Jacob's lattice work of hate pieces. The naming of Arcbound Ravager is unlikely to matter.
In the last game, we thought Ethan looked like he was kind of dead in the water, but was able to mount a comeback. But this one seems a little bit harder to.
Wow.
Well,
shows us the hand of 2 Dismembers and 2 Ravagers, both locked down by Meddling Mages. Jacob showing that even though this Hardened Scales deck has maybe dropped off a bit, he has a very good understanding of what matters in this matchup and how to shut it down.
oh wow, looks like we've got some time left in the round. Whatever could we do with this time left?
Well, we have this thing called
Text me.
So chat. This new segment is about the flavor of the week, and that's about our favorite flavor texts. So today, Travis and I are debuting our favorite flavor text, and my choice is the very...
We're getting a drum roll here.
Yeah, we're working on it.